What is going on, chat? How are we all doing it tonight? Happy to have you here. Thank you for tuning in this Thursday. Not inside the MJ verse, at least not right now. I am secretly jacked into Schaefer and Schaefer Laboratories. This is one of the big corporations within 2112. If you are interested in learning more about Schaefer and Schaefer, throwing some links in here. But tonight we are going to be starting out. Barat, how you doing, brother? Happy to have you here, man. Hey. I just threw two links in chat. So one, thank you, Ty. I appreciate that. The GM. The first one was for talking about kind of the lore about Schaefer and Schaefer, where I am right now. And then the second one is for this image, because this right now, is great as this may look, this does not do it justice. Click that image link, blow it up. Again, just like last stream on Monday, the detail that you can see in this is insane. Happy Thursday, Veggie Dave. Thanks, appreciate that. So yeah, I am super excited for this. I have some news for you. Hey, Crazy Cat, how you doing? One, we're going to go over the white paper. So version 1 of this game, the white paper for that was fully released. They talked about it prior. I mean, people weren't in the dark on what was going on, but now they've really outlined what each thing means, how you're going to interact with it. So we are going to, how you doing, One Shot? We're going to go through that white paper. We're going to dissect it so you can learn if this is something you want to get into, kind of what you can expect going through with it. And I have some additional alpha for you after that. Two things to talk about for this project. So super excited for that. So let's go ahead. Let's dive right in with this white paper. All right, so 2112 run game version 1.0. Again, disclaimer. All of my 2112 assets I've purchased myself. I have had some talks with a community manager on the team, but they have not. They've asked me to make more videos. I was planning on doing that anyways. They didn't tell me what to say, how to say it, nothing like that. This is purely coming from me, my content. Yeah, Farhat, it's very much a cyberpunk game. So just want to get that disclaimer out there for all of you. But let's dive in. Let's start talking about this white paper, chat. So here's just a full outline, and I can share the link. I believe they have a tweet about it. I can share that with you. So, or sorry, it's not a white paper. It is a black paper. This game, Black Paper, explains the mechanics that are going to be included in the first release of 2112 run game, which is version 1.0. Majority of these mechanics are subject to change, and most importantly, be improved and expanded with each following iteration. This release serves as an introduction. While it is simple right now, we really wanted to show the community something playable as soon as we can. Bi-weekly updates for the game are expected to be released as we go deeper and deeper in complexity until we reach the goal of having a full-fledged roguelike game. A lot of improvements for these mechanics are already in the works, aside from specific console and land gameplay that will come further down the line, representing major releases. So this may sound simple and pretty straightforward, and it is, but what this is I love how upfront the team is with it. One, it's going to change a lot. Two, we understand it's not fully featured yet, but it still sounds pretty cool. Just don't let that deter you yet, chat. And it's just all my interactions with the team, with the community manager, with what I'm seeing in the community, this team is incredibly upfront. So here's a screenshot of what the game will look like. It is text-based. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute here, and what all these different elements on screen are. All right, so the first thing to talk about is the crypto runner. So these are on ETH mainnet. Also, short term for them is runners. These are your playable characters within the game. Each one has a certain set of stats, and there are many different factions. So here you have talent. So of all the traits that you find on OpenSea, the talent is the one arguably that is most important, because this is going to affect something that we'll talk about a little later. All the other attributes on OpenSea are purely cosmetic. So Talon 7, you've got a 51% distribution of all the crypto runners. Talon 8, 30%, 9, 17%, and 10, 1.14%. So very, very small. If you get a 7, if you buy into it and you get a 7, don't be discouraged by that. There's still going to be plenty of utility for it. Now, here are the 5 factions. Punks, Ciphers, Guild, Makers, and Stray. So think of the... I'm going to just briefly sum these up in my own kind of terms. Think of the Punks as... you know, kind of rebellious, stick it to the man type players. Ciphers are ones that connect to, through technology, have had a experience to bring them closer to a higher level godlike experience, and they want more of that, and they're trying to figure it out. Guild are, geez, from my recollection, it's escaping me right now, but they are the kind of businessy, kind of like fraternity style, fraternity sorority style players. The Makers, they craft things, they build everything. And the Stray Dogs, which is my favorite, the strays at the end here, they are all about, they can go solo, they can go in packs. They use tech that may be outdated, but they piece things together. They slide in, slide out, get the job done. Almost has kind of like a mercenary vibe to me. Again, just my own personal opinion. These factions will come into play later on in gameplay. So definitely something to consider if you want to get in. The art, I think, is awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. 3 different styles for each of the 5 factions. So now let's talk a little bit about actual gameplay and what that looks like. Hey, how you doing? So clock. So clock is the available time the runner has to perform their runs. All runners have the same base clock of 100. Clock regenerates in real time, replenishing completely after 24 hours. Both the base clock and its regeneration rate are modifiable and affected by things such as gear and conditions. So here's kind of a thought that I have, not necessarily confirmed, but you know, maybe your console could have an effect on clock performance. And I think of this as kind of like how many, like in crypto runners, how many raids can you go on within a certain time frame? And instead of a week for crypto runners, for crypto raiders, for crypto runner in 2112, it is 24 hours. And this is kind of exciting too. So think of that. Your clock is your ability to go on runs, notoriety level, and notoriety points. Notoriety level represents experience and fame the runner has acquired during their career. So that's kind of cool. Like you've got like, not stats, but you know, as you move up from the ranks, that's going to increase, and I think will be like a really cool stat, something to maybe show off to the community. Runners increase their notoriety level after acquiring a determined amount of notoriety points. And further updates making specific runs or using specific items will require having obtained a specific notoriety level. So the points you get for being successful within runs. Conditions, I like to think of these as buffs and debuffs. So they are bonuses or penalties that a runner can acquire during runs or through other events. These can last for a certain amount of time or runs. So we've got clock, which is like your ability to go on essentially missions. Notoriety level, I almost think of this as kind of like a, not exactly, but almost like XP. And then conditions as buffs or debuffs. So now here's the exciting part. What up, Snapple Man? Making a run, and what does that look like? So, making a run, that is the core gameplay element of 2112. So, making a run is the main gameplay loop and action the runner will do. A run represents a hack attempt on a target corporation server, much like Schaefer and Schaefer Labs behind me. This would be a type of place that you would hack. Crypto runners spend clock to make runs, and then they have constantly managed their risk to reach the end and get rewards home. This is where things get exciting. This is where they get fun. So here's the grid. The grid is a virtual reality landscape in which the runner is placed when they connect to the server. So kind of like almost like in the Matrix, when you jack in, you're taken to a new world. You jack in and you go into the grid. When you're in the grid, each level is called a node. And so there's a. We'll get to the nodes in a minute. Even though the grid is a virtual environment, the runner can be hurt and feel every stimulus as if it were occurring in the physical world. Again, getting some Matrix vibes from this. Pretty cool. Run traits, so layers. Okay, there we go. Those are the total nodes a run has. So there's an entry point node, which is the first one, and a mainframe node, which is the last one. And the layers are everything that's in between. So if a run has 7 layers, it'll technically have 9 levels. You have your entry, 7 layers, and then your mainframe node. The notoriety level requirement we talked about, kind of like XP. Are you famous enough? Are you skilled enough to be able to go on this? A clock cost. The owner of the corporation show, is it going to be Schaefer and Schaefer Labs behind me? Trace level we haven't talked about yet. So trace level threshold, that is the as you hack into the grid, the corporations are going to try and find you out. And more actions you take and more steps you take increase your trace level. And if you hit a certain threshold, your run is going to fail. And then your notoriety points you will earn. We talked about that. Those go to your notoriety level. And then data reward. So what's exciting about this is the data reward. That is their token that you get. So you go on these runs, and then you get actual crypto for a successful run. So here's the structure of the run. First node, the entry point, we talked about that. Then the different layers in between, and then the last node being the mainframe. Trace level. Trace level represents how close the corporation is to pinpointing the runner's exact location inside the grid and disconnecting them from the server. When a trace level reaches the trace threshold, as outlined kind of at the right here with the red X, the runner is kicked out of the server and the run is considered failed. Currently, all choices the runner makes during a run will have a chance of increasing the trace level. So this game will be a constant balance of risk-reward. Go big, go home. How deep do you want to go? How much are you going to risk in doing this? Yeah, exactly. Tron, Cyberpunk, all of it. All of it combined. So exiting a run, currently the only way to exit a run is by finishing it either successful or failed. Runs cannot be exited or interrupted in any other way. Quitting the game or trading the crypto runner mid-game will save the state of the run, leading the new owner to continue from that point after logging in. So that's pretty cool. Like that, again, it's another small detail, but it's something to me that says, hey, they're trying to think of all these different angles and possible exploits and address them, but do it in a very simple way. You succeed when you exit the final node, fails if that threshold, the trace level threshold, is reached. Run rewards. This is the fun part. And this is where maybe I'll drop my first little bit of alpha that's not even in here yet, chat. All right, so during the run, the runner will accumulate data packets. Again, that's their token. Data packets can be obtained in different sizes, small, medium, or large. These contain a certain range number of data, which is ERC20 tokens according to their size. All nodes can have choices that rewards data packets, being the mainframe node the one with the most. If the run is successful, the runner will open the data packets one by one, revealing how many data ERC tokens each one has and obtaining them. So even that, it sounds like that might be random, which is also kind of exciting. If the run fails, however, all accumulated data packet tokens or data packets will be lost, and you will then in turn not receive any tokens. Notoriety points. If the run is successful, the runner will earn notoriety points according to the total notoriety rewards of the run. If the run is failed, though, you get half of your total notoriety points reward. So if you have a successful run, you get max notoriety, which is your XP. That's how I'm labeling it right now. And then you get also all of the data. If you fail the run, you get half of the XP and no data. So it's not a total loss if your run fails. Nodes. Nodes represent a situation do I want to leak that alpha? let's wait a little bit. We'll get a little further on before I do it. Nodes. Node represents a situation you encounter during a run. As the runner progresses through the nodes, they go deeper into the server until they reach the mainframe. Many nodes thematically are tied to the corporation that owns the server. Nodes have different types according to what situation they represent. Currently, there are 3 types of node: entry point, mainframe, and ICE. So we've talked about entry point, we've talked about mainframe, we have not talked about ICE. Entry point is kind of starting off the story. How did you get there? What are you trying to hack? Where's the server? What corporation is it? The mainframe, you have 2 different types of mainframes. There will be 3, but right now there are only 2. And all of them will always have data packets as rewards. So you have vaults, big vaults in which the runner has to break in to get the prize, and mazes, wide mazes of files in which the runner has to search for the prize. Let's talk about ICE. ICE is intrusion countermeasure electronics. So this isn't just click in and go through. No, you're going to have actual like skill-based interactions on your journey as you go through. So the ICE nodes are obstacles that the runner has to surpass in order to advance within the run. These will also include a piece of ice that the runner must face. ICE are programs used to defend the server, and they are represented visually in the grid in endless possible ways: objects, mythical creatures, monsters, animals, and more. ICE nodes offer 3 different choices, each one with a different risk level. Currently, the 3 types of ICE are bouncers, watchers, and sentinels. Bouncers are roadblocks that stop them from continuing. For example, doors, locks, mazes, pitfalls. Watchers are surveillance observers and spies that track and analyze the runner's movements. For example, floating eyes, spying shadows, listening creatures. Sentinels. Sentinels are aggressive guardians that can attack the runner. For example, armed soldiers, big ferocious beasts, scary creatures. Now, in my Monday stream, I linked the Chavito lore and then minigame. In that minigame, we are exposed to these different types of ice, and if it's anything like the final release of the game, the way you approach and deal with these different roadblocks, these different creatures, it's going to be very different, and you have to think about it strategically in a very different way. Snappleman asked, what can I do with my data? That is a great question. And you know what? Just for the sake of chat, I'll go into that right now, and I'll drop some alpha. So, 1, it's a cryptocurrency that you can swap over to ETH if you'd like. 2, as I had mentioned in previous streams, this was originally a DeFi game. Secondly, and here's the little bit of alpha that, it's been talked about, but not really mentioned too much, is that eventually, when you go on these runs, you aren't just going to get data packets and notoriety, but you're going to get actual NFTs. And you can use your data on an in-game marketplace to buy, sell, and trade NFTs. Now, what can these NFTs do? So, it could be for your console. Could be for your land, so maybe you earn data passively faster. Maybe increases your clock. Maybe it's increases the chance of getting a buff or a debuff. Decreases the chance of getting a debuff. But I asked this on the stream that the team did the other night, and there will also be very special NFTs that if you go on a run, will literally, and you get one of these NFTs, will literally change the canon, the whole story of the game. And this isn't like, oh, they're going to be like 1,000 of these. No, it's going to be very rare. And you can take that and you can decide, hey, I want to hold on to that for myself and have this piece of intel and use it for my faction's advantage. Or you could say, hey, I want to sell this on the open market. Highest bidder. Maybe it's a 1 of 1. Maybe there are 10 of them. Go for it. And I'm not going to say what it is, but here you go. Here's a big potential prize out there. Literally game-changing prize. What is that going to do? Like, that could completely change everything. Whoever's in control of that. So, hypothetically, just running through a scenario. I'm a stray dog. I obtain one of these rare NFTs. I then decide I want to put it up on the market, and then behind the scenes, Discord, Twitter, private conversations, I can reach out to someone and say, hey, Punk's faction, this is going to ruin you if this gets out. You might want to buy this. And then maybe I'll go to the guild and say, hey, I know you want to screw over the Punk's faction. You might want to buy this. So like there's an element to it too, between like all the different factions in the way that you could potentially play people against each other. That I just think is so. I talked about narrative experiences that is so organic and unique. And honestly exciting. Like you could just be playing the game. This game isn't going to be linear of just it grinding the same runs over and over again. When the marketplace comes out, when these NFTs come out, there's always a story going to be underlying and involved with this. And you have, as the player, the ability to shape this story, which I just think is so cool. Great question, Snappleman. So yeah, the NFT marketplace and NFTs associated with runs will come out at a later time. But yes, that is there and good to go. Super excited for that. And again, the way that it drives and changes the narrative. It's not just a grind for the sake of grinding and I want to try and get the rarest NFT. No, it's going to have actual story and gameplay implications, which is so cool. So here we go into choices now. So whether you're at a... So I guess this is for ICE specifically. So let's say you go to a watcher. You come up against this watcher ICE. You have options that you can choose. So you can reverse engineer the foresight capacitor with an amalgamate program and use it for yourself. See the grid through the watcher's eyes and find a hiding spot for the next node using a sightseer program. Take some time to fool the watcher using a mirror morph program and pass through. So I believe, too, with these NFTs, you'll be able to buy certain programs. Each choice represents the action the runner is going to take at the moment. For example, using a certain program. Probabilities and resolutions are disclosed to the runner prior to selecting the option. So you know your risk reward the whole time. It's not blind. So resolutions, the runner obtains the data packets, trace level is increased or decreased, and the runner obtains a buff or debuff. So for every choice, those are the 3 resolutions that you are going to come away with. So here's kind of an explanation. Up here, you see the red, the blue, and the green. This talks about what these all mean. So you see the trace icon. So this says there's an 80% chance that trace level is going to go up. 60% chance that trace level is going to go up 3 times. 40% chance I'm going to get 3 small, S for small, 3x, 3 data packets. 20% chance I'm going to get 3 medium data packets. 10% chance going to get a large data packet. 100% chance of getting the informed buff, and 10% chance of getting an exposed buff. So, looking at this scenario, like if we were to look at my trace level, let's say I have a 10, and I have to get, only have 10 for the whole run. Well, there's a very high chance that I'm going to get a trace level of 4 after this. Not completely for certain, but a very high chance. So that's 4 out of 10. That's basically 40% of my trace could be gone. But I also have a chance of getting a bunch of small, a bunch of medium, and even 1 large data packet, and I'm going to get a buff if I choose this option. So if we scroll up here, I might just zoom in so we can kind of talk through this. So like chat, I'd want to hear... Oh, looks like I zoomed in a little too much. What would be your thoughts on this? So there's an 80% chance it goes up by 1, 60 by 3, 40. So this is the one we looked at below. If I go this route, there's a 70% chance it only goes up by 2, 80% chance of getting 1 small data packet, 5% chance of getting a medium, and 100% concealed. So that would be a buff. And then I get a debuff here, but only a slight chance of getting found, but no reward. So depending on what node you're at within your run, you really need to balance your choices. You might miss out on high risk, high reward by playing it safe, but your trace doesn't go up, so you can use that later. So there's going to be strategy not in these just in these individual choices, but in your choices throughout each run. Need to weigh that whole risk reward dynamic, which I think is pretty cool and pretty exciting. Again, it's not just grinding for the sake of grinding. There's going to be some thought behind it and some strategy behind it, which I think is super cool. Yes, NFTs within NFTs, NFT Inception, exactly, Snapple. Oh, okay. So this is another part that, again, here's my excitement for the game and for the team. Just the transparency. Off-chain engine, on-chain database. The entirety of the game engine will be handled by our backend engine, which is off-chain. This will allow us to go deeper in complexity without raising the cost of transaction fees. Thank you. Amazing. The database for everything game-related, stats, resources, and currencies will be stored on-chain in Polygon Layer 2 Solution Matic mainnet, which means no gas, which is fantastic. Currently, the game only requires one transaction to be sent to Matic mainnet when finishing the run. Again, not a big deal at all. Here's the other cool part. No need for bridging. All the contracts managing the different parts of the game will be on Polygon. There is no need to bridge the crypto runners from Ethereum mainnet. We can point to the Ethereum mainnet assets from Polygon contracts directly. So even though your crypto runner is mainnet, and certain other assets might be, the game doesn't need you to switch over. You don't have to deal with the gas or transferring everything. They're building this out. So it's, in the aspect of bridging, it is transactionless from a user standpoint. Better UI, cheaper, much less of a hassle for us as the end user, which I just think is fantastic. Let's see. Going on to the next page. Example of gameplay. You enter 2112 run, connect your MetaMask and switch to Polygon, select your crypto runner, start a run, immerse yourself into the run node by node, pick the choices that maximize your gains. Get those data packets, but be careful of the trace level. If we reach the thresholds, we kind of went through those different scenarios. And yeah, that is the full white paper. Chat, do you have any questions? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. What do you think? And while you hit that up in chat, have some more alpha to drop on you. Some unreleased ice has been shared with me by Renata of Schaefer and Schaefer Laboratories when I jacked in earlier. So check this out. Again, these aren't just flat images that you're going to be dealing with. No, these are like animated items. So here looks like some sort of giant centaur-like creature. Animated, it looks 3D, which is pretty cool. This spider man woman ice, and then finally we have a giant turret that looks absolutely terrifying. But again, much like the backgrounds that you're seeing up on my screen right now, the detail that goes into these, I love their design team. It's absolutely fantastic. I think it looks really, really cool. So yeah, chat, let me know what you think. Super excited for this project, and we'll definitely be giving something away come MJ5K, hopefully next Thursday. Let's switch back over now to the MJ-verse. Let's get going into Crypto Raiders with our boy, Beefy Boy Bruce. See you in a second.